Welcome to my channel. My name is Priska and I make videos for women who value their personal style over fashion. But in today's video, I'm applying my love of color and personal expression to my home. Now I have specific design challenges that probably resonate with you. I am renting a condo right now, and when I moved in, it was this big, white, boring box. It had no character whatsoever. And I know minimalism and the clean aesthetic is all the rage right now, but to me, that black, white, and beige look just reeks of depression. You know what else is minimalistic? Hospital corridors, prison cells, and any kitchen built in the 2010s. But just like I've been able to transform my outfits from generic and minimalistic to vibrant and personally expressive, I finally figured out how to do the same with my home, even while renting a big white boring box. Read no painting or renovations. So in this video, I want to give you interior design tips that will help you enhance the vibrancy of your home. Sound good? Let's begin with 3 easy design guidelines that I live by. Style, lifestyle, and meaning. The first one is style. Your style is a reflection of your soul, and you can express that through the way that you design your home. The second is lifestyle. Good design harmonizes form and function so that your home is serving your real life. And the third is meaning. Personally meaningful pieces enhance your sense of presence, authenticity, and being grounded in life. So with these 3 easy guidelines in mind, let's begin with the room where I saw the biggest transformation, the bedroom. Just like every other room in my condo, the master bedroom started as this big, white, boring box, but it wasn't going to stay that way for long. The largest portion of color in this room, and probably the same is true in your bedroom, is the bed frame and bedspread. So I wanted to use these larger volume pieces to make the loudest statement. I chose a velvet navy headboard and a dusty rose bedspread. I know this is not a traditional color combination and it's definitely not neutral, but this worked perfectly for my husband and me because we both really like vibrant colors, rich textures, and it felt like such a beautiful combination of masculinity and femininity between the large structure of the navy headboard and the softness of that dusty rose bedding. I had both of these pieces in my previous home and it was much smaller, so this is a theme that you're going to see throughout my home, is that I had to figure out how to enlarge the statement of the furniture and the decor because the rooms were so much larger. So even after adding a sizable headboard, this room is still so large that it felt like a blank, undesigned space. So I embarked on my first peel and stick project, an accent wall. Okay, I know accent walls are considered outdated, but just wait till you see what a transformation this makes. It cost $125 and took just 2 hours of my time. It was very easy to put up, and I think for the cost, it turned out very well. A lot of times what makes something look outdated is when it seems very cemented in just being a trend as opposed to a real utility, a real value to your home. If it was a decade ago and it was a random accent wall in a room just because everybody's doing a random accent wall, then of course that's going to look outdated. But I think in this instance, it really shows intentionality, thoughtfulness, just a really good design feature. So now that you can see the before and after, what do you think? After the accent wall went up, this style was really coming along in this room. But remember my 3 design guidelines: style, lifestyle, and meaning. And I could combine all these things with the sponsor of today's video, Quince. I'm so happy to be using Quince's organic cotton percale sheet set for my bedding. It has this crisp and cool feeling, which is super necessary in the summer heat.
Oh, these sheets, aren't they so nice? Oh, how fun.
And it has long fibers to ensure it lasts. And for style choices, it's available in 13 colors. And if that was not enough, the price is truly unbeatable. So if you're on the market for new bed sheets and want a high quality set without the luxury price tag, then be sure to use my link in the description box to shop for this lovely set. This cooling sheet set is a welcome addition to our home, especially considering we live in Florida and it is April and it's already 80 degrees. Also, how sweet is my husband for pretending to enjoy making the bed with me so that I could get some good B-roll for y'all. Okay, so one of the big questions when it comes to designing your home is how to choose a theme. And there's two ways to look at it. You can choose a more color related theme or a more design related theme. But either way, I think one of the most useful design tips that I've heard is to apply the 60-30-10 rule of color proportions. Without applying this rule, it can feel like a wave of color is taking over you, or there's just really not enough color going on. But if you apply this rule, it creates a sense of order and balance in your home. In my bedroom and beyond, my color theme is mauve, or like a dusty rose, emerald, and navy. Now, these aren't colors that I found in one of the color wheel schemes, which those are really helpful as a starting point, but finding the pieces that resonate with you, the colors that resonate, that's a little bit more intuitive when it comes to color proportions, and I really like the way that my home colors are not like anyone else's I've ever seen. So if you're just starting to venture into the world of color, then I would just start with picking out colors that you resonate with. I started with the mauve tone, but it felt a little too girly with the co-ed space. And because it's an extremely girly color, I added the navy in because one, I like navy, but two, it does have a more masculine feel. It's a little bit tougher, especially in contrast with the softness of the mauve. So in this room, I had mauve as 60% of the color, navy as 30% of the color, and I still needed to fill in about 10% of extra accent color. So I chose emerald because pink and blue can seem a little bit basic, but adding that emerald color adds some sophistication and just gives you a sense of my personal taste. So that's how I chose my color theme. But as far as a design theme, I'm not super into this idea. I think sometimes when you choose one type of design, it can be a bit generic and just in the box kind of thinking. My home isn't strictly in one of these categories. It's not modern or traditional or vintage or farmhouse. It's not even the cool Scandi or Japandi styles. I find that using these terms too strictly isn't really helpful for me in my evolving tastes, because in the past when I've thought in these boxes, I tended to reject furniture or decor pieces simply because it didn't fit in this predefined theme that I created for myself. Instead, I use a lot of intuition to just feel what I'm interested in. But if I had to define my style, I guess I would say it's glam modern with a mid-century flair. But I don't really think through these terms when I'm styling my home. I just think of what's going to look good together and what gives me a good feeling when I look at it. Now that the bedroom has its accent wall, its statement pieces, and it's balanced in color, I wanted to add some final touches. One of the things that I love about hotel bedrooms is the symmetry that they have. I mimicked this with hanging large frames peeking out behind the matching lamps. And for a touch of meaning, I added a small photo on each nightstand. I think these are either 4x6 or 5x7, so they're easy to swap out seasonally. And lastly, across from the bed, I love having a photo to gaze at. We don't watch TV in our bedroom, so I have a large photo that when we're sitting in bed we can look at. This one is from our engagement session, and it's still so vibrant and inspiring, probably because it's a more artistic piece. And with that finishing touch, our bedroom is now a beautiful, colorful haven for us to feel happy and relaxed. In the living room, let me show you what I started with. Another big, white, blank, boring box. The problem with the big blank box is that it takes a lot to add character, personality, and fun. Larger pieces, bolder colors and patterns, and more thoughtfulness. But we're renting this place, so I knew I didn't want to make expensive or permanent changes. Instead, I turned to the pieces that I own to make a bolder statement. My first design purchase, and probably the same is true for you, is the couch. This is not the couch of my dreams, and thankfully. When I was looking for a new couch, it was 2020, and as you know, the supply chain was down. It was really hard to get anything within any reasonable amount of time, and I had spent some time on Pinterest finding the magenta velvet couch of my dreams. I had to have one, but in 2020, inventory was on back order, so I settled for a less fun velvet couch in navy. And you know what? That probably has better staying power anyway. I've added accent pillows that I get to change out when I get bored with them. I have a blanket that adds some pattern to it, so I'm not entirely against a more muted, sort of neutral statement. It just needs to be personally something that you actually like, not something you see in a design magazine or you see on social media or in some store. Because if you just copy what other people are doing, especially in terms of neutrals, you're gonna feel like an imposter in your own home, and that's just such a yucky feeling. This navy couch was a bit more neutral than what I wanted, but I also still adored it. For the rest of the furniture, I again applied the 60-30-10 color rule. My couch is the largest chunk of color in navy, and I wanted another bold color for the Ottoman style coffee table. The coffee table I originally had was purple, but in this new home, it just looked a little bit too young. When I was shopping around, I ended up pulling some photos from different websites and mocking up what it would look like with different colors in Canva. So I tried out a mauve ottoman, an emerald ottoman, and even navy again. The problem with the navy one is that it made the couch look too clunky. It was just a sea of navy. But the green ottoman was just right. Now to add in that last 10% of color, I wanted to do some shade of pink, but I didn't obsess over adding the exact shade of mauve that I had in the bedroom. One design tip that I heard that has been very useful for me is to not stick to only the shades of color that you have. Having some variance in those colors actually brings so much more dimensionality. It looks more lived in, it looks more personal. So I ended up adding more of a magenta color with these Moroccan style lamps and a little bit of magenta in the emerald pillows. Lastly, I added a rug that has this really beautiful pattern to it. I feel like all rooms need some sense of pattern, even if it's just pillows, a blanket, a rug. It doesn't have to be your largest pieces that provide pattern, but having pattern in your interior design is just like having it in your outfit. It really speaks volumes to your style. Our previous home's living room was about half the size as our current home, so the pink rug that I previously had really fit well in that space, but when we put it in this space, it looked cartoonishly small. So I set out to find a new rug. I did the same thing of mocking up different styles and colors on Canva, and I knew I wanted a Persian style rug, but the size I needed was going to be about 10 foot long, and I did not want to spend $1,000 on it. So I bought this one from Rugs USA. Honestly, it is not the very best quality I've ever felt, but it is the best value, combining the design I wanted with the price I wanted to pay. So I am 100% satisfied with the way this rug looks and feels because it's actually practical for my lifestyle. If I had a $1,000 rug, I feel like I would be worried about spilling drinks on it and just the normal wear and tear. And that's an interesting aspect of everybody's budget when it comes to home decor, is that what's valuable to me is not valuable to you. What I'm willing to spend money on may not be what you're willing to spend money on, but you have to be satisfied with your own choices. So setting your own budget and deciding where you're going to spend your money because that's what you value is super important and will save you from overspending just because some designer or influencer says that that's what they spend. Lastly, the gallery wall. Now, this is not my favorite design I've ever created. I'm still tinkering with it, but I've got a photo session coming up in a few months for my maternity photos, and I think I'll put some of those up instead of the gallery wall. And that's another element of design that I don't think is really talked about enough. There's no perfect design. You're always going to be tinkering with it. And you have to decide, am I content with how it is today? Or am I going to keep letting little things bug me, which totally robs the joy out of the present moment? Now, if there's something you just absolutely can't live with, make a decision and move on. But if it's something that you either don't have time to redesign right now, you don't have the budget to do what you want, or any other reason why you can't make the change, then be content with what you have today. And that applies to a lot of areas of life. But before we get too deep into that, let's move on. Across from the couch, we have the entertainment area. What's ultimately most important in designing your space is to ask, how are you spending your time in here? We watch TV together every night, so it is prominently featured in our living room. One thing I've noticed in a number of people's living rooms is that they're making their lives harder by having a TV that's not the proper height for their couch. Now, if you don't watch a lot of TV and so you put your TV above your fireplace mantle, and so you're not straining your neck a lot to watch TV, I guess that makes sense. But we watch TV literally every night, so I wanted to make sure my entertainment center was low enough that the TV height would be nice and low because my couch is low. So as you're looking at your space, make sure to ask yourself if these pieces are helping you with your normal activities. If you have a lot of books and want a more visually pleasing way to arrange them, you can just search on Pinterest for bookshelf ideas. I really liked the gradient rainbow colors of this look. It's aesthetic and practical, and when I'm looking for a book I've already read, sometimes I forget the title, but I can actually remember the color of the cover, so it makes searching for my past reads pretty easy. So this entertainment area fits my style and my lifestyle, and as far as meaning, books are just really meaningful to me. I like the physical books, I like the way they feel when I'm reading them, and I like that when I'm watching TV, sometimes when my mind just wanders away from the show, I'll browse the titles and remember some things I learned from those books. And that for me provides a lot of meaning. Now in our living room, I've shown you our couch, our entertainment area, and lastly, we have this one last sitting area, and it was the very last thing that I've designed in our home. Maybe I can put up some photos of what it looked like before I had styled it. I was just trying to get an idea of when we moved into this home, like how I wanted it to look. Did I want it to match the navy couch? Was that too much navy? I ultimately ended up with a pink chair, and it's a pretty sizable piece. This isn't a love seat, it's like a 1.5 person, but it is so cozy for curling up and reading or just staring out the window and watching the boats go by. And I think because I waited so long to design this last little area, because it was the least practical area in our home, I'm really satisfied with how it's turned out. Sometimes when you move into a new space, it can seem like all this pressure, like it's a rush to get everything perfectly organized and designed, but you don't really need to do everything immediately. And if you do, it probably won't be well thought out. I've definitely done some things immediately in here, like bought certain decor pieces and ended up not liking them in the long run. So instead, what I would advise if you're redesigning your space or you're planning to move and need to design a brand new space is to just live in the space for a little while and prioritize your decorating based on your needs. So the couch was pretty important, the bed was pretty important, my desk and my kitchen were pretty important, but this extra little reading space was low priority. So spaces like this, you can just live with a little while and then figure out how you want to design it. Now real quick, this is my very first video about home life, and I'm really enjoying making this video, and I would love to offer you more tips about creating a beautiful, functional home. So just let me know in the comments if you want to see more. The next room I want to show you is our dining room. It's really just an area of the living room, and I know it's really unpopular to have a dining table now, but it's something that I truly value and use. We eat lunch and dinner at this table almost every day. It's not just about a place to eat meals. To me, it's about a place that is comfortable enough to chat about life, about food, about thoughts, anything we want. And for me, it's such a beautiful reminder that we're living life together, not just beside each other. When I was choosing a dining table, I went with a bar height because I already had these navy velvet stools from my previous place where they were nestled under our kitchen island. Now these stools are super comfy, which is a requirement if you're planning on having those family and or friend dinners. The more comfortable the seat, the longer you'll stay and chat. Also, if you don't know, I'm about to save you a future headache. Bar height is taller than countertop height. I thought stools all came in one height, but no, there's a sizable difference. So double check your dining table height and your stool measurements before purchasing anything. For the finishing touches, I added a fine china hutch, which practically speaking, it helps me to not have to dust my glassware so often. It was a fantastic deal at a local furniture reseller. We have this great place called Dunn's Attic locally, and it is just a consignment shop for high quality, especially like solid wood furniture. If I go to IKEA or any of the local retailers, they generally have particle board, which is just not great quality, and I would rather have an older design that's higher quality. Honestly, it speaks to my soul a little bit more. I kind of like the idea that a different family owned it and now it's mine to steward and create memories with. Another finishing touch was the chandelier. I scored on this chandelier. It was the wrong color though. It was a sea wash gray, and I'm much more glam in styles. So spray paint to the rescue. The total for this project was $100, and I feel like it was such a huge upgrade. Lastly, because we have these big white walls, we definitely needed some artwork to add personality. We found this oil painting and really we liked the frame just as much as the painting. And the other artwork is a photo that I took on our trip to Italy. We both adore this ornate, ostentatious design of the Renaissance periods. Having it be aesthetically pleasing and meaningful to us, I mean, it really just checks all the boxes. And now the dining room is complete to enjoy those beautiful meals that I relish so much. Of all the rooms in our home, the kitchen is my haven. It's where I practice creativity and playing with my hands, which is so necessary for my mental health. As a YouTuber, I am on my computer several hours a day, every single day. And that's probably why cooking has become my favorite hobbies. So for the kitchen, I wanted something that stimulated that creativity and having fun. I was so happy that when we moved in, this wasn't a big white box, because the kitchen is an area that you do have to make some semi-permanent changes if you want to add color, but we really lucked out with these beautifully finished wooden cabinets. Now, the big change I made to this room is to use peel and stick tile. Backsplash tile is often very terribly generic, and honestly, I just hate the color gray. So if it's not speaking the love language of your soul, you know, you can change it. Choosing a pattern for the backsplash was the most difficult design choice that I made in this entire home. I wanted to incorporate the orange finish of the cabinets, and somehow I wanted to add pink to tie into the rest of the condo. I looked at some cheaper peel and stick tiles and wallpaper, but they just weren't artsy enough. And the backsplash is small enough to spend a little bit more money per square foot. For this design challenge, I turned to Etsy. I was able to find some beautiful designs and very helpful reviews, so I felt confident in my purchase. I also watched some YouTube videos to learn how to install it correctly, but don't look too close because I definitely made some rookie errors. But honestly, for a rental, I'm super happy with it. The end design is something that delights me every single day. After that big design change, I also needed to make some smaller changes. Now, our previous kitchen had a lot of countertop space, which was amazing, but this place has a pretty small kitchen, so I couldn't leave out everything on the countertops that I was used to, otherwise it just looked cluttered. Now, how much clutter you keep on your countertops is really a lifestyle decision. Like, we make smoothies every morning for breakfast, and so I wanted to leave my blender on the countertop. You have to ask yourself, what do I actually use on a daily basis? There are little things that you can move off the countertops and still use regularly, like this paper towel holder that mounts under the cabinet. Another design element you might not think about is blending in the colors of what you're using so that it doesn't look visually cluttered. I have this drying mat that I use for my hand wash pieces, and it was previously gray because my previous home had gray countertops, but since these countertops are black, I swapped out the drying mat for a black one, and it just reduces the appearance of clutter by having more cohesive colors. Another thing that I must have on my countertops is a full fruit basket. To me, a full organic fruit basket is like the flowers of the kitchen. This is again a lifestyle decision. By visually seeing that fruit, I'm more likely to snack on that than to search my cupboards for all the processed snacks in there. So nobody's kitchen should have the same stuff on the countertops. It should really be, what are you using the most, and can you make it more visually appealing? Ultimately, the kitchen and really every other room of the home is supposed to serve your real life. So it's not just about style, but also lifestyle and adding meaning to your life. I hope you've enjoyed this video and taken away some design tips that will help you to create more vibrancy and have more fun in your home. I'll see you next week with a brand new video, but until then, take care.